Hi everyone, my name is Austin Ludens. I am the assistant campus pastor and I'm half of an RD here on campus. And it took a lot of transition and lots of wild roller coasters to get to where I am today. I started out as a student here and slowly worked my way through different leadership positions, and after graduation I ended up staying. And to be able to manage all that type of transition takes a lot of trust and takes a lot of just leaning on God and a lot of difficult situations. But for me, it wasn't always that way. And that starts all the way back in high school. So in high school, for my whole life, I grew up a Christian in town, which definitely has an impact on you growing up. You show up on a Sunday and you're in a sea of people, and you have the people you know, but there's a lot of people you don't. Everyone just kind of puts on their Sunday best, their Sunday church face, just to act like everything is okay with them, nothing's wrong, which ultimately led to nobody really opening up, diving in, admitting that life was hard and life was sucky sometimes. And I love this church and I still go there and it's great, but for a kid growing up in that, all I saw was, if I'm not like that, if I'm not perfect, if I don't have my Sunday best, if I'm not acting at least like nothing is wrong, then I'm not a true Christian, because Christianity must be about being perfect. It must be about looking nice and smiling all the time. And that really was hard for me growing up, because by the time I got to end of middle school and early high school, I started to be a typical teenager, make dumb mistakes, make stupid decisions. And when I went to church and saw nobody else struggling with dumb mistakes and stupid decisions, I felt like I wasn't good enough for God, and I felt like, what was the point? God doesn't love me. How can I do this? And I lived like that for 2 to 3 years, where I just kind of despised myself for the things that I had done, the actions that I'd had, because I didn't really understand what a relationship with Christ meant fully, to its fullest extent, because of how growing up in that church has impacted me. And it took until a youth group later in high school where people finally started going on stage and sharing their stories. Our youth group really made it an idea to start sharing stories. They saw the importance of that, and it really changed and shaped a lot in that time. And I began to think about what my own story was, and began to realize more people struggled with things than I even realized. More people had difficulties than I even realized. And one of the things that these people that shared their testimonies talked about was having a relationship with God, and not simply just being religious, and just talking out loud and having an open conversation, as weird as that sounds. And I thought it was weird at the time. And on my way home that night, I just remember talking out loud and just to God in my car, just crying out, asking, what could I do? Like, I can't live like this anymore. And I just felt an overwhelming presence of peace and weight lifted off of my shoulders, as like 15 to 16 years of just religious church stereotype was just lifted off of me. And that's when I really began to learn how to trust in God with my life, and that took me to college. And I didn't think I would end up at the University of Sioux Falls. It was another last-minute decision, but I felt like a calling to do what I was passionate about. And I wasn't very good with what I was passionate about, but I decided to trust God in that because of that relationship that I had with Him. And that has just led me farther and farther along as I continue to put my trust in Him, talk to Him every day, pray out loud. If I mess up, okay, I can go talk to God about that. If life sucks, which it will a lot, there's somebody to lean on. It's not just you or me sitting alone in a room just trying to figure out. And I still, to this day, struggle with that fact of relationship over religion, and I have some lingering mental health things too that have come from that I'm still struggling with. But ultimately, God has seen healing in my life and allowed me just to trust in Him with these big decisions, and has led me to this job and this place where 4 or 5 years ago I was scared and nervous to come to this school to pursue worship ministry when I only knew how to drum. And now, 4 years later, to primarily be involved in running the Thursday night worships and pouring into those worship leaders. Like, God's hand has just been steady through that all, and I wouldn't be here without that. And so I just want to open it up to any of you. If you want to come find me on campus, I'll be floating around Denny T's office. But if you ever just want to talk about what it was like for you to grow up in church in that kind of setting, if you feel like God doesn't love you, come talk to me, because there's nothing we can say or do that will make God love us less, because that's just the vastness of His care and His love and His power. He just loves us so much, and we can mess up and be someone we hate the most, and He still loves us so much. So please, if you're struggling with that, come find me, or Dennis, or anyone that you trust, and just talk to them about that. But yeah, thank you for listening to my story.